Hi, how's it going? Welcome to Code with Z. In today's video, we gotta simplify this path that we have here. Why? Well, because that's what LeetCode 71 simplify path is asking us to do. Now, as you can see, it's a lengthy description that I'm gonna simplify for you, literally. But let's see what the main request of the question is. As you can see, it says you're given an absolute path for a Unix-style file system. Well, we have the path that we have here, which always begins with a slash, Your task is to transform this absolute path into its simplified canonical path. Now, what does this mean? Well, if we check here, we're told that a single period, for example, this that we have here, represents the current directory. A double period, for example, this one that we have here, represents the previous or parent directory, and multiple consecutive slashes and stuff, we're just going to ignore them. We're just going to keep one. As you can see, they're all treated as single slash, and anything else beside these, we're just going to ignore them. But this description is really awful, so let me just show you how you actually go from this to this, because this is the simplified version of this path that we have here. So how did we actually go from this to this? Well, allow me to explain. First, when we're actually given this string, because this is basically a string that's given to us and we need to simplify it. When we're given this string, we're going to split by slash, and that's going to give us this array that we have here. As you can see, this slash is turned into this empty string. Then we have our home, like so. Then we have our dot or period, and then we have our user. Then we have our double period here, and then docs, and then this slash here. That's actually represented by this empty string because we split it by slash. When we do this, believe it or not, we're halfway done because our approach is going to be really simple. So after this split, let me bring this up here so we can actually have more space. We're going to define a stack. So far we just split and we define a stack. That's basically an array. And we're going to have three simple rules. We're going to say, if you see a single dot or an empty string, ignore. So basically, we're going to be looping through this array that we have here, and we're going to follow three simple rules. And this is the first one. It says, if you see a single dot or an empty string, for example, this empty string or this single dot that we have here inside of our array, just ignore it and continue with the loop, right? The second one is that if you see double dots, go back. So basically pop from the stack, and you're going to see how this works because I'll visualize it for you. So simple as that. If we see a double dot, we're just going to pop. And the last one is that if we see anything else, a folder name, anything else, we're just going to add it to our stack. So basically push. Now, let me just visualize all of this for you. So when we actually loop through our array, we're going to start from this, right? So this is going to be an empty string. We're going to check our rules. We're going to say, if you see a single dot or an empty string, ignore. Okay, let's just ignore it and move on to the next one. In the next round, we're going to be looping through this because we're basically looping through this array that we have here. This time, we're going to be like, am I seeing a single dot or an empty string? Not really. Am I seeing double dots? Not really. This is home. So anything else, add it to our stack. So let's do that. Home is added to our stack. Now, let's move on to the next round. We're going to get to this. We're going to say, if you see a single dot or an empty string, ignore. Well, this is a single dot, so we're just going to ignore it. Then we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to have user. We're going to be like, is this a single dot or an empty string? Not really. Is this double dots? Not really. So we're going to be like, all right, anything else, add it to our stack, like so. Then we're going to get to this one. We're going to be like, okay, is this a single dot or an empty string? Not really. Do we have double dots? Well, yeah, okay, we have to pop from our stack. We're just going to pop like that. Why? Well, because double dots represents that we need to go back to the parent. That means we need to go back to home. And that's why now our stack has only home in it. And then we're going to move on to the next one. We have docs. We're going to be like, is it a single dot or an empty string? Not really. Do we have double dots? Not really. So anything else, just add it to our stack like so. Then we're going to get to the last one. And this is going to be an empty string. We're going to check if we have a single dot or an empty string. Well, would you look at that? We have an empty string. So we're just going to ignore it. And that's going to be it. And then when we're done, we're just going to get our stack and join it with a slash. And that's going to put a slash between any element that we have inside of our stack. But remember that we need to have a slash in the beginning as well. So we're just going to add one slash in the beginning. And if we do this, slash plus stack dot join slash, that's going to give us our answer. That's going to be slash home slash docs. And this is going to be our answer. Now, let's code this in the simplest way possible. Alrighty, so the first thing that we need to do is to do our split, just like we saw on the slide. So we're going to say path that was given to us is equal to path dot split by a slash, just like we saw on the slides. And then we're going to define our stack, again, just like we saw on the slides. Then we're going to do our loop, so we can loop through our array for let I being equal to 0. And we want to keep on looping as long as I is smaller or equal to path dot length -1, like so. And we want to increment I on each round. Here we're gonna have our simple logic. We're gonna get the current element inside of our array that we're currently looping through. So we're just gonna name it current, for example, and this is equal to path at the index of I, so we don't repeat ourselves. And we're gonna say if current is equal to a period or current is equal to an empty string, continue. Just like we saw on the slides, literally the same thing. Then we're gonna say if current is equal to double period stack dot pop, just like we saw on the slides. But we need to make sure that we only pop when our stack is not empty. So we're gonna say and like so, stack basically exists. So if we have a double period and stack is not empty, do this that we have here. And then at the end, we're gonna say else, basically anything else that we have, literally the same thing that we saw on the slides, right? We're gonna say stack dot push the current thing that we have. And this is gonna be it. At the end, we're just gonna return slash plus stack dot join by slash. And this is gonna be it. Let me run this and see if we actually pass the tests that we have here. And yep, that's awesome. Now let me submit it and see if we actually pass all of the test cases. And yep, that's awesome. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep on coding.